Good of you to join us. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, it's good to have you with us, Glenn, on our 15th birthday. So thank you very much for joining us. So what headline stats can you share with us which highlight the impact that COVID has had on Xero customers over the past 15 months?
Yeah, I guess so we put a lot of data looking at general small business trends from our kind of 700,000 plus customers, and one of the key data stats I think that is pretty important shows that we need to have created another 410,000 jobs by the end of the year to get back to that pre-pandemic kind of trajectory of new jobs, which clearly is quite a lot of new roles that need finding in the next six months or so. As the positives of that is we're starting to see positive trajectory from sales performance coming through the data that we see. So yeah, I think the last set of data we pulled was May, and we're seeing some really positive moves from that side, which is good, I guess, as we start to see this return to this new normal, whatever that may be. But certainly small businesses seem to be getting themselves back on track. And if you look at a couple of key areas, I think, so we talk about retail revenue or online revenue now makes up 40% of all revenue. And we've seen lots and lots of small businesses have to evolve their business model. And that's what entrepreneurs do, right? They pivot, they come across a challenge and they figure out how to overcome that. And we've seen a lot of businesses definitely return or move into online sales rather than bricks and mortar sales that they would have done before. And then 46% of the SMEs that we're seeing are now saying that the technology they've adopted in the pandemic and the new ways of working in the pandemic, they believe will set them up much better for the future. And I think there's a McKinsey report that talks about the pandemic has accelerated technology adoption by about 10 years, down to the fact that people have just been forced to change the way they're working, evolve much faster than they probably would have done naturally. So yeah, whilst the pandemic has been obviously horrific on a lot of cases, hopefully that digital adoption and the value that small businesses will get will be seen for years to come, but probably sooner than would have been without it being there. And I think there's one other stat which I think is really, really important, is that 49% of consumers now feel like they will be spending more with small businesses. They are more loyal to small businesses than they are or would have been to large corporates. So I think we're starting to see that. We have things like Small Business Saturday and Shop Local campaigns, which are absolutely critical, but probably don't go far enough to really support small businesses on an ongoing basis. And I think what's really refreshing is it feels like we won't forget the fruit and veg store, right, that delivered our fruit and veg when the supermarkets couldn't do online deliveries for us, or the coffee shop that stayed open knowing full well they could only do takeaway and had a limited menu. Those small businesses that have really come to the table and supported us as consumers, knowing that they wouldn't make the same amount of money and they have had to let staff go. So yeah, it feels really refreshing that we will probably see some of that become more inherent in our DNA, and shopping local and shopping with small businesses will just become more natural.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, muscle memory comes to mind, and will we just, and when this all ends, will we just revert back to type? Let's hope some of the points that you just made do stay as part of our sort of general lives. According to, just on that point of data, Dan, it's not one of the questions that we've got lined up, but you must be asked for a lot of this data by some governments, think tanks, etc. You must have a lot of incredible data at your fingertips, which really do act as a barometer for how the economy is performing.
Yeah, look, definitely. There's not, I guess, many platforms with over 700,000 small business customers on it. Clearly, all of our data is anonymized and dealt with to the highest level of security, but it does help inform, and hopefully in the future will help inform governments and other industry bodies around what's actually going on in small businesses. So I think it's really difficult for lots of people who are outside of this world to truly get a good understanding of challenges and what's actually happening in small businesses. So hopefully the fact that we can deliver some of these messages to people that have an opportunity to make a difference will only add more value to people in the future.
Fantastic, brilliant. According to the research that you've conducted at Xero, what are the key trends that you believe will define the next few years for small businesses?
I guess the big one is we definitely believe that small businesses will have a greater opportunity over corporates. So I touched on it a few minutes ago around our affinity and our loyalty to those small businesses. So we definitely feel like now there is an opportunity there for small businesses to really take a step up. And when we talk about technology now, I think small businesses are spoiled with the access to market-leading technology. Years ago, if you wanted the best technology, it was only available to the richest of businesses, right? The biggest of businesses that could pay for it. And I think now with the cloud, it's allowed companies like Xero to deploy market-leading technology cost effectively, but across like millions of businesses around the world in lots of cases. So definitely, I think we start to see more of that. I think that explosion of like tech adoption is critical, and it will probably wipe out a lot of the old ways of working. So we'll start to see people, I think, get more involved in their finances. Like one of the things we're really passionate about is just giving small business owners financial clarity. And like this is age-old kind of saying, I think, from accountants. So like, well, my clients aren't interested in their numbers, and actually what we find is that's probably wrong. Actually, they just never really knew how to interpret them or understand them, and they were always, you know, in the past. They were looking at stuff that happened in the past, and they've already moved on. They're looking ahead. Actually, when you start to show them real-time information and trends within their business, but you've got to be a pretty strange business owner to not actually enjoy that and try to understand what's going on in your business. So I think we'll start to see more and more of that like financial clarity come into small businesses, and they'll want to get more involved, which I think is phenomenal for like any advisor type relationship, whether it's an accountant, a bookkeeper, HR professional, like whatever it is, because like, they're going to want to work with those people closer to pull down on their skills and their knowledge and their understanding of their business. So yeah, I think it's a phenomenal change that we'll see over the next few years, and have been seeing, where business owners will just really crave access to data and more information about the success of their business. And then hopefully, we do see it in our data, like the failure rates of businesses that use Xero are much, much worse. So we see obviously less people failing across 5 years who use Xero than the industry standards. So yeah, actually having access to that data and that financial clarity is clearly adding some enormous value to people. The other thing, I guess, is this post-pandemic boom. We've definitely seen it in Australia and New Zealand, so where we've one of our home markets, who obviously they've kind of handled, I guess, the earlier stages of COVID a little bit better in the pandemic, but then you could argue maybe that the latter stages of vaccination not too well. So it is quite different, but they definitely saw that boom, and we're now starting to, I think, some of the data coming through, like I mentioned earlier, the sales numbers starting to grow. Invoice volumes and things like that. So we're starting to see some of that creep in. So hopefully small businesses will be able to really capitalize on that boom that comes of like consumer demand being higher than usual. I think the CEO of Park has recently talked about pent-up demand that exists out there. Like we haven't been able to go out and spend money that easily recently, and as the restrictions start getting softened. There's apparently lots and lots of money sitting in people's personal bank accounts that they're itching to get out there and spend. So I think, yeah, hopefully small businesses will really be able to capitalize on that pent-up demand that exists out there.
Despite the challenges faced by small businesses, that a lot of them that you've just outlined, why do you believe SMEs are set to prosper in the short-term future? And are you seeing a boom in new customers outweighing the number of businesses you have lost as customers during the pandemic? Obviously, you've referenced a lot of reasons in your last answer, but just on the sort of maybe the second half of that particular question.
Yeah, definitely consumer demand is strong. So we've seen a growth in customers. So more small businesses and more accounting firms coming to us, wanting to work closely with us and adopt our technology. Equally, there are like failure rates of businesses, right, which are growing at the highest levels that we've seen. So yeah, there's challenges there. More businesses coming on board, but obviously more failing. What we tend to see in a lot of cases, I think, is that businesses, like if you're an entrepreneur, you're probably unlikely to then go and like get yourself a job working for somebody else. Like whilst one business fails, a new idea comes up, and we see entrepreneurs pivot and start new businesses and grow that way. So I think, yes, but business failure rates are up, but the demand is there coming back, and as businesses fail, I think more and more are created. And last year, I think the last time I looked at the business creation rates, we were seeing them like far superior to what we've seen in the last few years. So people were going out and creating more, creating their own businesses and getting up and running. And the gig economy is a real thing now, right? People with side hustles and another job that complements their actual income, where some of it will move into full-time work and some of it just won't, and it will stay a side hustle, or they'll kill it after a period of time. But yeah, definitely we see that happening. I think the resilience is important as well of these small businesses. So so many of them had to deal with really, really tough times. I think there's the key challenge, right, of worrying about the things that someone like me who works for a corporate business and gets holiday pay, right, and we have parental leave and all those perks that small businesses typically don't get. Like the kind of things that the small businesses sweat about is, can they pay their mortgage? Can they pay the staff? Like, can they make payroll that month? I think they're the kind of challenges that we see a lot of, and that's why the financial clarity element I think is really, really important. Because if I'd love to think that if I just gave one extra person a better night's sleep, because they weren't worrying about some of this stuff, because they knew they could make payroll, right? They knew their sales were good, or they knew their sales were bad, right? And they needed to do something about it before it got worse. I'd really hope, we could at least give one other person in our community just that extra night's sleep and a bit of peace of mind.
And finally, well, not finally, actually, an ultimate question regarding your workforce, Glenn. How has Xero's workforce adapted to the pandemic, and what is Xero's position with regards to remote working moving forward? You talked about, giving SMEs a peaceful night's sleep, owners and entrepreneurs, but how is Xero managing the well-being of its staff? Yeah,
so as a cloud business, I guess you'd expect that we already had an approach to flexible working. So we have offices in Manchester, Milton Keynes and London, but we have an approach to flexible working. So all of our teams have the option to do that, and they have the technology and the tools to allow them to do that. So we found leaving the office March last year and all heading home relatively easy from a technology point of view. We all picked up our laptops and wandered out of the business. Hopefully people took their charger with them. But yeah, we all wandered out, and from the next day we were all working at home, I guess quite happily from a technology point of view. What we've seen, I guess, over the last kind of 15, 16 months is there's this blend, right? I think most people want hybrid working. That's what we tend to see. No one wants to be completely at home, but nobody wants to be completely in the office. So we definitely feel that there will be more of a blend, probably, to a variety of how people are working from home or in the office. But definitely what we're hearing and what we're seeing from the research and the surveys we're doing across our teams is the office is a critical component to our culture, to the way that we operate and the way people feel about working for us. So I think we'll definitely find that blend. I think most of the leaders in our business will talk about the necessity to just become more empathetic over the last 15 months. I know I certainly have. I think it's been critical to deal with people in a different manner, because people have dealt with the pandemic in very different ways. And in some pockets, we have a relatively young workforce. We also have a collection of people who are from New Zealand and Australia, and they have an overseas experience visa over there, so they can come to the UK and do 2 years. And lots of time they'll transfer from Xero in Australia or New Zealand and come to us. And they often live alone in flats, or they house share, and they don't have this space that they can go and work, or they've got 3 people suddenly in a 3-bedroom flat trying to work from home, and it's not ideal. So I think we've definitely had to flex the way that we put our arms around some people who maybe don't have the home working environment that makes it easy to do their jobs. So that's definitely been critical. I think the empathy and actually being able to deal with people who are all in completely different positions in different ways. But I'd like to think that our teams would feel that we've done everything with the best interests of people. And I don't think there's many businesses. We're opening 3 new offices at the minute. So there's probably not many businesses opening 3 new offices, but we do believe that hybrid working is the way forward. But the office is a critical component to getting people together, to collaboration and all that good stuff that comes from the human interaction, which I think we're all craving to a certain degree. After we're still at home, so after 15 months of being at home, I think we're definitely craving getting in a room with some of our colleagues and planning kind of further world domination.
So whereabouts are you opening, Glenn? Oxford?
Sorry, what?
Coming to Oxford?
Well, we're not, unfortunately. A new Milton Keynes office. We've opened up a new London one and a new Manchester office. We're not too far from you, though.
Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing one of our members talking about one of the legal trainees. They heard that they'd been perched on the end of their bed with a laptop on a windowsill for the best part of 2 or 3 months. And it's finding that information out from your staff. You know, you've got a significantly bigger workforce than they have. And you're relying on being given that information, aren't you? And a lot of people maybe don't want to share that information with you. So how do you go about helping those that maybe don't think they need to be helped?
Yeah, I think one of the best tools we've got is a tool called Office Guide. It's a well-being tool. Effectively, it sends a fortnightly questionnaire out with a number of questions in it, and you can answer anonymously. So all you ever really know is the team that they're part of. And we ask questions like your work environment, like, okay, how useful is your work environment? What's the one thing that Xero can do to make your environment better? And everybody got an allocation. We gave everybody a financial allocation for buying stuff for home. So if they needed to buy a new desk or a new chair or a second monitor to replicate their setup in the office, we do all that stuff. But the nice thing with Office Vibe is it's kind of like, it's non-threatening. It's really open. You can, if you want to own your comments, you can, or you can just pop in an anonymous comment, and then you've got the option to get back and try and get someone maybe to take it offline and say, look, if your home environment isn't what you need it to be, can you ping me a note? Let's get some time and let's figure out what we can do to make it better. So it's definitely a great tool to give people the option to post kind of anonymous feedback, be it positive or negative.
Finally, we heard one of our guests ask why they should choose Xero. Why should any SME consider accounting software for their business? Choose Xero. We have in our business, and it works very well for us at B4. So what would your maybe top 3 tips for choosing Xero be?
Number one is financial clarity, right? I'll harp on about it on and on and on. It's super, super important that small businesses understand what goes on in their business, and it's absolutely addictive once you start getting involved. The other thing, I guess, is, or 2 things, I think, is the partnership or the ecosystem that sits around Xero. So there are loads of great Xero accountants and bookkeepers that can continually add enormous value to your business and will know Xero inside out. The other side of that is also the ecosystem. So we're now in a phase where business owners, like the buyer, has got a lot of the power, because you've got a point of sale system. You're not having to buy 2 products from the same people. You can create a back office solution for whatever your business is, whether it is point of sale for retail, or it's a job planning tool because you're a plumber or you're a lawyer and you want a practice management system. You can select some tools that work for your business and talk to each other. So you can create that tool, which is absolutely phenomenal. The other thing is, I think that along the lines of financial clarity, it's like most businesses fail because they run out of cash. And you should know if you're going to run out of cash. So I think that's critical. Actually getting involved, running Xero on your mobile phone, getting invoices out, getting paid quicker. Our data tells us that if you use our online invoicing tool, where you can attach like a payment gateway to it, you get paid typically 1/3 quicker. And when we talk to small businesses, that's one of the key things. Like, how do I get paid is often the question, because that's a nightmare, getting some people to pay up. But once they do get paid, it's like, how do I get paid faster? How do I get the 14-day terms to be 14 days, or the 30-day to be 30 days, rather than sitting there waiting or having to chase and then continually chase, because that's time I could be spending working on my business with my family, doing whatever your hobbies or interests are. And I think that's the key there. It's like that getting paid faster element is absolutely critical.
And it's been a privilege to have you with us this morning. I hope things get back to normal for you and your team. And thank you for the support you give to B4 and a number of our other members that we've heard from on the chat that use your services. Hopefully we'll see you again soon, Glenn. So thanks again for joining us.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me, Richard. Bye-bye.